know about tapering, right? Well, there's a couple ways to do it, and by trial and error, I've screwed this up many times over and over, but I think I finally got it. So, tapering for someone who's running high mileage may be different from somebody running lower mileage. And the difference between that is someone who's tapering from lower mileage may taper more off on their speed workouts, or they may do less reps. They may ease off on that. For somebody who's tapering from high mileage, well, the biggest reduction would be tapering off the freaking mileage. Someone running 60 miles a week, you may be fine cutting down to, say, 50 miles a week, but going easier in your workouts. For me, I would focus more on cutting the overall volume of mileage down. Now, from what I do in the fall time and summertime will be different from what I do in the springtime. For what I'll do in the fall time is I'll be running a fair amount of mileage in the summertime, up around 170, close to 180, even 190 miles a week. But when I get down to fall time, it's race time. And when you get into when you're racing a lot, you want to bring that mileage down. Now I'll bring that mileage down 2 months before the biggest race. So I'll go down to like 140. So I'll have some weeks around 180, 190 running in the mountains, but it'll become important to bring that mileage down to around 140 to an easier amount. And 140 is pretty easy for me, and I could get in some good specific workouts from specific for the marathon, 10K, half marathon, right? Now, when I come into the winter time, the weather gets really bad for me, and it's really hard to train. So my mileage is even less than there, and now I'm running 140 miles a week consistently, even less than that. And I just feel like I'm on fire. So when it comes into the winter, that's when I start hitting PRs. That's when I start feeling really fast, because really I'm more well rested. So when I think of a taper, I think of something, cutting down the mileage for months out of a time before a big race. I don't do the 3 week thing, the 2 week thing, because it's such a shock for my body to go from really high mileage to a lot lower mileage that my body sometimes just wants to turn itself off and just starts going into recovery mode. And when your body's in recovery mode, it doesn't want to run fast, it just wants to recover. That said, if you overtrain a bit, which I've done a little bit, but you got to push your limits, and I'm always a fan of that. When you overtrain a little bit, when you taper, you're gonna feel the taper a lot better, a lot more. You're gonna feel worse. Your body's gonna shut down. So if you over taper when you're overtraining, you're not gonna have a good day. As I said, when I come into the spring, now I play around with the mileage. I'll go to 170 for like a week or two, and then I'll come down to 140, 130, and I'll kind of zigzag up and down because I'm racing, every weekend or every other week. Every other week is usually a big race for me. So I kind of just follow the curve of what I'm doing. Now, if you know me, I never really actually take time off from running. I kind of consistently train through, but I'll basically go up to 160, and then big race comes 110, 160. I kind of follow that curve, and you got a big week, and then you have a recovery week, big week of recovery week. And when you get that recovery weekend, you're ready to race fast. And then when you're out racing for the next week, you go up a mile. So my taper is kind of just like up and down, following the curve. It's all over the place. Look at Bill Rogers' training. His miles are all over the place. That's the way my mileage goes in the spring. It's basically all over the place. And then when I come to the final few weeks of the season, now I have the USA Half Marathon Championship. Now I'll kind of cut down and leave the mileage around like under 140 a week. So this week I'm shooting for 120, and then next week the races, and I want to be around 100, 110 miles. Nothing more than that, because once again, you don't want to shock your body. But I feel like so comfortable running around 140 miles a week. It's really easy to me if you've run 180 miles a week. It really doesn't feel like much, and I feel fast. Another thing, if your workouts are going good and you're running 160 miles a week up there, around the top high, then you're probably going to race pretty good, I would say, around then. But think about it, you're going to race a lot better once you're really rested. So, it's another thing to keep in mind. Another thing that may make you feel like crap in a taper is hormone imbalance. Your body's producing a lot of bodily hormones, growth hormones, testosterone, and it's probably being really burnt out if you're running a lot of miles. When you start tapering, your body's still producing a lot of those recovery hormones, and you taper, and then your body kind of freaks out. It's like, what's going on here? And then you feel like crap. So when you over taper, you feel like crap. Just to say, now you have a lot of hormones in your body, but now your body is recovering. So when you feel like crap, that's when your body is recovering. When you feel great, that's when you're breaking down your body in a workout. So those workouts you're feeling really good, you're doing the most damage to your muscles. Those workouts that you're feeling bad, your body's actually recovering. So let your body recover. Have a bad workout. I tend to have a lot of bad days. The higher the mileage, the more bad days I have. The worse those bad days are. The lower the mileage, the more consistent. Now, for someone on a lower mileage training regime, it's a little different. You don't have. I don't think you have to taper so much off the mileage. You could be running 60, 70 miles a week, and then cutting down to 50 is fine. You drop 20 miles. It's supposed to me. I'm at 180. I need to drop 40, 60 miles or so to really, be in that zone where my legs are moving really fast. Because at 180 miles a week, my legs are always just dead. But for someone tapering from 60 to 50 miles a week or so, that's good. But then now, taper off those workouts, go a little slower, focus on specific race pace, no faster, and keeping those easy runs at that moderate pace. Don't start picking up your easy runs to go faster, because I know it's a lot of, when you start tapering, you feel really good, you're going a lot faster, but then you're creating extra soreness for yourself. Well, I believe if I start tapering, I start getting my runs faster, then I'm creating unnecessary soreness, and it's the energy I need for the race. So have fun feeling good, but don't overdo it. My workouts would I don't generally start like tapering off workouts. It's kind of weird, but like I'll just run a smaller, easier workout that week of the big race, because in the springtime I'm going up and down. In the summer and fall, I'm really just building up to bigger workouts. But in the spring, I'm kind of doing like an ease of maintenance thing. So I'm not always running great workouts, or I'm doing maybe a quick tempo, some 200s that week before a race. I'll do like a 2 or 3 mile tempo run, maybe a little slower than half marathon pace, and at the end I'll do a couple 200s, and I'll sprint those 200s as hard as I could go for like in 29, 28 seconds, and that's how I want to close the race. You want to close the last 460 seconds. That's what you got to do. That's my last 10K in Bucknell was this last week. I ran 29:09. Good race. Most of it was pretty easy, but I was like a race more of a sit and kick for me. Sit around and then close the last mile into 4:30 kind of thing. That week, basically, I did 2 miles of tempo on the track, and then 3 by 200, 29 seconds, 29 low, and then 28.2 is the last one, and that was like a 200 PR for me. But I wanted to close the last 228 seconds of my race. That's all you need, and it's not too hard to do. So that's how I taper. I run an easy workout that week. 2 weeks before, I'll get a bigger workout. When it comes to the end of the season now I'm kind of really thinking about tapering off the workouts and doing easier workouts. No big, 20-mile long tempo runs. None of that anymore. That's kind of done, even in the spring season. In the fall season, I may start with 6-mile tempo, 8-mile tempo, 10-mile tempo, 14-mile tempo. In the spring, it'll be like an 8-mile tempo, more track work, definitely, more faster stuff. And then maybe try to get another 6 to 10-mile tempo in or something. I do a lot more tempos. And I just kind of ride up and down the curve, just consistent training. Basically, the Bill Rogers philosophy. So, basically, at the end of this, just remember to run smart. Don't over taper, but definitely taper. If you're one of those guys who feel really bad after tapering, taper 2 months down before your biggest race. Taper for the whole season, and then you'll feel a lot better on race day. I guarantee it. If you're overtrained, when you taper, it's going to feel a lot worse. You're going to feel it more because your body wants to go to sleep. You don't want your body to go to sleep. So these are just the important things to remember when you're tapering. You don't want to shock your body too much, because your body's used to running a certain amount of mileage, a certain amount of work. If your workouts are going good with that certain amount of mileage, you're going to race good at that without even tapering. But I guarantee you, if you really want a PR, you really want to have that pepper in your legs, you got to taper. It's very important. So, train hard, train smart. I learned to train smart this year. Last year it was more like how many miles can I run in a week or in a month, 800 miles in a month. But trying to be a little smarter. And in the summer, you know, back to the mountains, I guess. Or if you're racing every weekend like I am, then you got to keep the miles a little lower. You know, you go up one week at higher mileage, and you go down week. So that's really the important thing. Leave any questions at the end of this video. Remember, get your carbs, fruit. Oh yeah, when you're tapering, you're still going to feel hungry because your body is still recovering. So you want to get the highest nutrition possible, and that's from raw fruits and vegetables, rice and beans, mostly citrus. Citrus is in season now. So hydrate. So I guess you guys know what you got to do from there with nutrition. I've talked about this enough. So never stop running, always inspiring. El Coyote Loco.